All right, welcome into another Auburn Live Show Modcast edition. It's the Penn State week. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Go subscribe, auburnlive.com, 7-day free trial. If you're not a part of the community, go be a part of it. Jeffrey Lee and Keith Niebuhr with us. Cole Pinkston will be joining us periodically. We'll record this on Thursday morning. Let's just start with the big news. Adam Hopkins commits to Auburn. What are the thoughts from the recruiting experts on Adam Hopkins and what he's all about?
Had to have him. After yesterday, had to have him. Yesterday being Carmelo English, number one wide receiver in Alabama, and decommitting from Auburn. Kind of a shock. At least it was to me, Keith. And so getting Adam Hopkins immediately thereafter was a nice Band-Aid, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, Carmelo English had been committed to Auburn since July 4th. And I think that, if anybody saw that coming, we certainly weren't tipped off his decommitment on Wednesday. So that was kind of shocking. And, it's perception wise, Justin and Jeffrey, it just looks bad. Penn State,
right?
Big week. It's supposed to be a huge game, huge recruiting week. And then you lose your highest rated commitment just a few days before the game. So to come back a day later and land the number one receiver in the state of Georgia, talented player, also from South Georgia, an area that Auburn, I think we could all agree that's an area we've all thought that Auburn should do well and should do better in historically. They've gotten guys there, but it's always seemed to have been Georgia territory or FSU territory. It feels like Auburn really could get down there and do better. And I know they've gotten guys through there through the years, but just better is what I would think they could do. And so this is significant. He's at Thomasville's Thomas County Central, well-known high school. Charlie Ward played there. Charlie Ward was at his game a couple weeks ago that I was at, and talked to him for a good 10 minutes after the game about FSU. So I don't know how hard FSU was recruiting him, but I do know that Charlie Ward was recruiting him pretty hard. So significant pickup, again, number one receiver in the state of Georgia, which historically has had a lot of great receivers, quite frankly. And so that's a positive, and it just gets everybody to sort of forget about yesterday, Justin. I think that's the most important thing. And the guy can play. Look, we don't know we'll know in 3 years whether he's a good player or not. But, on paper, it looks like a great pickup.
And he's very similar physically to Carmelo English, if
I'm
not mistaken. Matter of fact, when Auburn had Carmelo committed and we're going after Adam Hopkins, I was told they were very similar. They could play inside, they could play outside. So you've got, at least physically, a replacement for the decommitment yesterday.
I guess, Justin, the question is, Auburn they had two commitments at receiver yesterday. This would have been number 3 among receivers. So we know they would still take 3. So now who becomes the guy? Because quite frankly, I had some communication with Carmelo English yesterday, and I'm not super optimistic about Auburn's chances of getting him back in the class. Now he may have just been fooling around. I don't know. Who knows, right? And one day you're not high on a school, and 2 weeks later you're in again. So things change rapidly in recruiting. Justin, you were smiling, you're laughing about it, but we all know, we've all seen guys visit a school, tell everybody that school's their school, and then a day later commit somewhere else. And
well, I'm also thinking about, I saw Carmelo English tweet something out about the hate is real. It's so I'm sure he got a lot of backlash, which is
a lot in
this day and age. So I wondered, when you said that, whether or not he might, Auburn was still in the fold, that just kind of, I don't know if the fans sort of took care of that.
Well, there's always, but sometimes you get over things too. Fans get over things, and there have been guys through the last several years that seemed like they were just toying with Auburn, and the fans would just really crush these guys. And then lo and behold, they end up committing to Auburn. And I'll tell you, one guy was Zacoby McClain. His recruitment was all over the board. He was going to commit. He wasn't going to commit. He was visiting other places, and you didn't know what he was going to do. But Auburn felt pretty good the whole time, and he ended up going to Auburn. But he was catching a lot of grief from people, especially on the message board. So I don't know if he was reading them, but Carmelo seemed to be taking it all in stride yesterday. But it can get a little hateful out there, and I wish people weren't like that, but they are. And these guys are still kids. And
hey, Justin, before you came, when Keith and I were talking, I think the most interesting thing to me will be where he ends up, because we haven't heard of any visits. We hadn't heard that he was even contemplating decommitting. Now, Carmelo is very quiet. Dude, it was hard to get interviews with him while he was committed, before he was committed. You show up to his practice, and it was still tough. So curious to see where he ends up if he quickly makes another commitment.
I mean, we know Bama has kind of communicated with him a little bit. And before he committed to Auburn, Jeffrey, it was Kentucky and Michigan were his other official visits, I believe.
Yeah, Kentucky guys seem to think. Yeah, I saw them. They seem to maybe, I guess, think that they were in the running for him. Maybe Kentucky's an option.
Could see that.
Okay.
See that. They're Kentucky's throw. Remember, they were just exclusively a running team just a couple years ago. Now they've got a QB. They're throwing the ball and just coming off that big win. And look, Kentucky, they've been kind of a force on the recruiting trail about the last 3-4 cycles, really. And but still, this guy's in Central Phoenix City, at Central Phoenix City, right down the road. It's it's a little bit of a head scratcher.
So how would you sum up the last 2 days? I mean, from somebody that is following afar and they see receiver decommit, receiver commit.
Yes, to me.
How do you? Is it? I mean, Auburn. I mean, I don't know. How would you sum it up without being? If they're trying to figure out, is it good, bad? Am I okay with what just happened the last 2 days? Like, what's sort of the summation?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you ask me or Jeffrey? I couldn't.
Either one.
Yeah, take it, Keith.
Jeffrey, you want to go ahead?
Keith is give us the negative look there, Niebuhr.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, look, that's your top-rated commitment and in-state guy. So, I mean, those are two big negatives. Top-rated commitment, in-state guy, really strong in-state class this year. And that was the highest rated in-state guy. Well, obviously, if he was your highest rated commitment, it stands to reason he'd be your highest rated in-state commitment. So now Auburn's got one commitment inside the top 15 in the state of Alabama. So those are some negatives. And then, also once he decommitted, the kind of all of a sudden everybody's got a source on the thing. Well, they didn't have room. His grades are terrible. And I don't think that's a good look either. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta, as a fan, you just say, hey, he doesn't want to be here. That's fine. We're going to get another guy. It's Auburn. And that's the way I look at it too. So, but the big negative, obviously the ranking and then the in-state guy. Receiver position. I mean, they got plenty of receivers. I mean, it's a position you really want to upgrade, but do we know that he would have been an upgrade over the guys currently on the roster? We don't know that.
I think it's more about perception.
Correct.
You lost the number one wide receiver in Alabama. You gained the number one wide receiver in Georgia. But to me, the biggest takeaway from it was that he committed to Auburn largely because of Ike Hilliard. I remember he came for an unofficial visit back in the spring, right after Hilliard had been hired, and he was blown away. It was the one interview that I got of him at leaving the visit that he was very very honest and talkative. And he went on and on about Ike Hilliard. And to me, I thought, well, as long as Ike Hilliard is here, this kid's not going anywhere. And that's what we kind of say about Cadillac and Jeremiah Cobb. And I don't mean anything by that other than the relationships there. As long as Cadillac is here, I don't see Jeremiah Cobb going anywhere. But I said the same thing about Ike Hilliard and Carmelo English. So it was, for me, it's perception. Like he said, I don't know if any of these kids are going to be any good. But it looks bad the week of the Penn State you're building up, and then this kid comes out of nowhere and decommits.
So they're Auburn's up to, I think I'm counting this right. They're 16th in average rating. I think I think they're about 16th in average rating. They're further down in total, 36th because of the sheer number of commits. Still only 8, but average wise, they're still doing well. How big is this weekend? I saw Darren Usher tweet out, how big it was. And I think we were all like, it's huge. Obviously, Auburn doesn't have to win the game. We all know that recruiting, if the atmosphere is awesome, that's the most important. All these kids think they're going to come in and turn it around anyway. So a win and loss is not as big a deal as just the atmosphere, which should be cool. But I mean, given the layout, the landscape of where everything is, like pretty freaking big weekend, right?
It's the biggest recruiting weekend since, would you say, Iron Bowl last year, Keith?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Well, obviously, because, that's Big Cat weekend isn't what it used to be.
Right.
And quite frankly, spring games aren't what they used to be either.
That's true, too.
So not just at Auburn. We're not picking on Auburn here. That's just kind of the way it is. But no, I agree with Jeffrey. I mean, there's just so much talent there, And these kids, I would agree with you, Justin, that, winning the game obviously would be huge, but if you lose it, it's not the end of the world as long as everything else goes well. However, if it begins a string of losses, that lead to more negative chatter about the stability or instability thereof of a coaching staff. That's where it really it hurts you. So if you're Auburn, you're praying for a win here because you want to avoid that as much as anything. But yeah, you're right. The atmosphere. I mean, even last week with San Jose State, you're thinking, oh my God, the recruits must have hated it. Well, we talked to a bunch of recruits and they liked it. One of them said, "Hey, I don't like blowouts. I don't care who they're playing. I want to see a close game." And I mean, the fans don't want to see a close game against San Jose State, but the atmosphere was good. And so far, the atmosphere has been impressive in 2 games against, kind of lower tiered opponents. So what's it going to be like this weekend? So if recruits have been impressed by that, then they're going to be impressed by what they see this weekend. The challenge, and Jeffrey and I have talked about this, Justin, and you know this from your years of covering recruiting, is that now you're going to have so many guys at this game. And granted, recruiting staffs are larger than ever, but you've got to be real. I don't know if judicious or what's the word I'm looking for. You've got to really be careful and smart about how you spend your time. 4 hours to kick off through after the game. I mean, some kids always leave. So it never fails. There's a 4-star kid that leaves Auburn or any other places too that didn't feel like they got enough time or attention or love from the coaching staff. That's a real challenge for a staff. It's a great challenge to have, though. There's no doubt about it. You'd rather have that than nobody there, but it's a challenge nonetheless. But Jeffrey's been doing a masterful job of putting together the list this week, and it is absolutely loaded with guys uncommitted targets committed to other schools, young guys. You got to have the young guys. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball next year. So they've really got a lot of eggs into this basket, and it looks like it's going to be you got to tip your hat. They've done a good job of building this up and making sure kids knew about this a long time in advance. In fact, and Jeff, I know you're trying to talk here, but that's been one critique sometimes of the staff, that maybe sometimes they waited a little too long to invite people, like year 1 with Big Cat Weekend. But they didn't this time. I can tell you that. These kids have been talking about this game for months and months and months, and the staff has been talking to them about it. So they're all aware of it. They've been aware of it for a long time, and now most of their big targets are going to be at this game.
To me, Justin, it's all about the 2 lines, offensive line, defensive line, and Auburn has made both of those positions priorities. All of the Alabama commitments, the LSU commitments, Penn State commitments, Ohio State commitments, Georgia commitments, they're all coming. All right, not all of them, but all of Auburn's top targets. It seems like they're going to be able to get them to the game. To me, the offensive line group is one of the best I've seen. Maybe even better than the offensive line group that showed up at the Iron Bowl. I'd have to go back and look at that the list, but it'd be tough to beat 4-star DJ Chester, 4-star Rockwez McElderry, 4-star Bo Hughley, 4-star Kelton Smith. And you're talking about Kelton Smith, Georgia commitment. Bo Hughley, Georgia commitment. McElderry, Alabama commitment. Then you've got Janoris Wilson coming up for an official visit. You've got Paul Mubinga, LSU commitment, coming over from Beaufort, Georgia. Lots of big offensive linemen, which we all know how big that is for Auburn in this class. And then the defensive line, I'm going to work my way up here. Joshua Horton, North Carolina commitment. Darren Reed, LSU commitment. Who am I forgetting? Oh, backing up on the defense, Jaden Osbury's coming back for his second game, Notre Dame commitment. Then you've got the 2 5-stars coming back from Montgomery who were here. So this is basically the 3rd home game in a row. Auburn's got 5-stars in attendance. You had who was the Tony Mitchell last week, Alabama commitment. So we knew that Auburn was going to have to flip guys to fill out their class with elite guys if that's what they were going to do. And getting these guys committed to other schools, I think is absolutely huge for Auburn. Jelani Thurman is coming from Ohio State. Colton Hood is coming from Michigan State. A lot of other commitments coming to this game.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, just listening to y'all talk about the amount of kids that are going to be there, I don't think people realize on a big recruiting weekend like this, the work that goes in from the staff, like the 2 hours before the game. I mean, when this many kids are there, they're not just in the lounge down there, like going over their game. They're having to meet with these kids and like talk to them before the game and see them on the field and after the game. I mean, it's a weekend this big. It's about the game, but man, it becomes an insanely hectic and dialed in day for those coaches to talk to some of these kids, say hello before the game when they'd rather sit there, be studying the game plan more. And then after the game, same thing. So I mean, it's one of those days where you earn your money if you're anybody on this coaching staff.
Keith did a really good job, but inside the 20, I believe it was on Wednesday, talking about the 2 hours before the game, Keith, and these guys. The game plan's in, right, Keith?
Yeah, the game plan. Yeah, they're not scribbling plays down Friday night and saying, "Hey, maybe we should do the throwback pass." I mean, they don't. A lot of people don't quite get that, but yeah,
maybe less. But
I'll never forget. I was, people get mad because I always talk about Florida, but that's my only other frame of reference. That's the only other program I've ever covered. But there was a Thanksgiving week, and I was just driving through campus the Friday before the Florida State game, and campus is empty. And who do I see walking? Urban Meyer walking on campus about a mile and a half from the stadium. I honked the horn, scared the crap out of him. He jumped up in the air, and then he saw it was me and he waved. Well, anyway, so I posted that on our message board, and people were going crazy. Why isn't he in the office working? Why isn't he designing plays and getting, watching film? I'm like, they've been studying FSU for 3 months, guys. Okay. They don't, at that point, the hay's in the barn, but yeah. What was your original point, Jeff? I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this. Did Florida beat Florida State the next day?
No, they lost.
Oh, shit. Okay. Then it's warranted.
No, here's the other thing that we're not talking about. There are a few other big games in the SEC this weekend. So it's not like this is the only game in town. First of all, Auburn's unranked, guys, and Penn State is not in the top 10. Okay. This isn't Ohio State coming to town, with all due respect to Penn State. So it is a marquee matchup, but it's not a matchup of two ranked teams, of two highly ranked teams. I mean, South Carolina's playing host to Georgia at noon this weekend. Well, South Carolina's kind of a up-and-coming program, people think. Georgia's maybe the best team in the country. So that's a game that recruits could go to. I believe LSU is playing host to Mississippi State on Saturday night. And then also
Miami at Texas A&M.
Miami at Texas A&M. So there was competition. It's not just like, oh, well, obviously it's Auburn, Penn State. Well, yeah, for people that cover Auburn and people went to Auburn and Auburn fans and Penn State fans, of course, this is the only thing we're thinking about. But to recruit, there are options, okay? So even if you live in Atlanta, it's not a no-brainer to go to Auburn because Georgia, it's not, that may be your one chance to go to South Carolina and see the number one team there. So, the fact that Auburn, it still takes work, obviously. Anyway, people get tired of us just patting them on the back all the time, and they're looking at the class and saying, hey, 8 commitments, guys, number 36 ranking. We get that. Look, it should be better. I don't think there's any question about that. Have there been challenges? Yes, but it should be a better class, and hopefully for Auburn's sake, it will get better, and I predict it will. But the truth is, it's still a challenge to get guys to your games, no matter where even if this was a battle of 2 top 10 teams, you'd still have that number one team playing over, I guess Georgia's number one in some polls, right? You'd still have Georgia over at South Carolina. You still got LSU in Mississippi. Well, all the kids in Mississippi and Louisiana, where do you think they're going? And Auburn recruits those kids too. So, and Jeffrey, you've been talking about Kai Preen, a 4-star receiver from Louisiana that's committed to LSU. Now Auburn's trying to get him in this weekend, but LSU's got a big game. So, there's a lot of challenges here. It's not just telling everybody you got a game and they all show up. It doesn't work that way. You got to give them a reason to go more than just, hey, it's Auburn versus Penn State.
Yeah, it's going to be it should be a good atmosphere. The only negative I was thinking about was I was at the game. I mean, you guys were there last week, and here's what Auburn doesn't need. Auburn doesn't need a bad start in the first quarter and it be the quarterback's fault. Ooh. And to hear some grumblings and some boo birds.
Absolutely.
You heard a little bit of that right off the bat at San Jose State. At Penn State, it will definitely happen if you get down 10-0. And that's probably the only worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario on Auburn's opening drive, Finley or whoever's playing quarterback throws an interception.
Yeah. Yeah, you get some. You
yeah.
get some.
I don't think it hurt Texas any. Now, granted, they were playing the team that was number one, or I guess I'm getting confused because Alabama's still number one in some polls, and Georgia's
I can't really tell you. Coaches are. Still
yeah, but it didn't hurt. I don't think it hurt Texas at all last week to lose by 1. Now, obviously, they wanted to win that game, but did you guys see that atmosphere? Holy cow! Yeah. I mean, insanity. So if Auburn can put something together like that, and obviously we know it can. I've been to enough Iron Bowls and Deep South's oldest rivalries to know that there ain't nothing like Jordan-Hare Stadium during a big game. There really isn't. I mean, it's incredible. So again, but put together a great atmosphere. Make sure you're smart with your time, hosting all these recruits and giving them all as much love as possible. And Jeffrey and I talked about this, Justin, you know this, the recruiting experts on the staff, they have sheets that list recruits with photos and prioritizing them. So they know where to put their attention. The student section has been great, really, this year, I think, right? And they'll be great Saturday. They're right there where the recruits are. I mean, it really is a great opportunity. And again, it's a lot of kids that this may be their first game at Auburn, and it's a big game. And so they're going to see what playing in that atmosphere would be like. What could it be like for me next year or the year after? Should I go to this school? And Auburn's good for about 2 or 3 of these massive home games a year. You know, we look at the schedule this year and we're like, well, no Bama or Georgia. Well, you got Penn State, and now you got Arkansas, which, by the way, if they get by some of these teams coming up, including BYU, could be a top 5 team by the time they get to Auburn. I mean, we don't know. They could go in the opposite direction too, but there could be LSU coming in a couple of weeks. We knew LSU wasn't going to look like they did in week 1 every week. And so there are some big games, but this is the big one right now. And I think it's going to be an incredible atmosphere. The energy inside that stadium can really be something. And so that's all. This Auburn's big chance to impress guys. And, you just hope that the team can put it together on the field as well. Then Auburn can get the double bang for the buck there.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And all 3 of us, you both of you said, hey, you don't really have to win. You just have to not look like a bunch of idiots and have that atmosphere, right? And I even said the same thing yesterday on Inside the 20 with Keith. And the more I think about it, sitting here in the past 10 minutes, I'm going, man, the problem with Auburn's recruiting, they only have 8 commitments. Why? Is because a lot of these kids are worried about the stability of the staff.
Yeah.
And the negative recruiting from other staffs, which you can't blame them, man. It's fair game, right? Man, I almost want to say Auburn might need to win this game just to quell any of the rumors, the negative recruiting. Because imagine Auburn loses Penn State. Looked, perception-wise, last week, not too good against Kent San Jose State. And now those rumors have some legs for this year.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's you need a win.
Yeah, and I mentioned that earlier. And I said basically, if it was just this one game, a loss doesn't.
Yeah.
But
right.
in other words, if they lose this game, but then come back and beat Missouri and LSU and look good down the stretch, it might not matter. It only really kills you if it leads to if the noise starts growing, because Missouri next week on paper looks like, hey, that's probably a win, but are they going to play as bad in the future as they did last week? We don't know that. After that, LSU is going to come in here, and as bad as they looked in week 1, we know they're going to get better. They got a first-year coach. Then after that, you got the very next game, Georgia on the road. Okay, tough place to play. If you lose that game, and maybe they win, I don't know. It doesn't seem likely at this point, but if you win that game, or if you lose that game, the next week you got to lick your chops and go pick yourself up off the ground and go to Ole Miss. Okay, so the challenges don't get any easier. So every win you get right now basically keeps that negative noise from entering the conversation for at least another week.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's you forget kind of how precarious a situation Auburn football as a program and Brian Harsin are in. I mean, and you're right. It is a must win. It's not a normal situation where you can just have a great atmosphere. There's not enough time.
Right. Short term
to make it happen. And you're right. If Auburn, let's put it this way, if they're 4-3 going into that bye week, which would mean, like, let's say that's losses to Penn State, LSU, and Georgia, or Penn State, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Like, I think that if they're 4-3, which means a loss at home, one of these losses at home, I think there's going into a bye week. I think there's going to be it's going to be a long 2 weeks. I'll say that. I don't want to be 4-3 going into a bye week if I'm Brian Harsin. I'm just saying that.
And Justin, who do you play coming off that bye week? Isn't that the Arkansas game at home?
Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm more talking about just the state of the program.
Oh no, I understand.
Like if you're 4-3, we're going to be talking about, did they just pull the trigger? I'm just telling you, like, that's what's going to happen. That's going to be a discussion if they're 4-3. Now, I don't know if anything will happen, but I think the more I think about it, that they can't afford to lose this game. They can't afford home losses, really.
I agree. Because you're coming back with Arkansas at home. You're going to Mississippi State. You've got A&M at home, and you've got Alabama on the road. And hell, at that point, if you're 4-3, Western Kentucky sure ain't no, cupcake.
Well, and also look, these kids on the team, yeah, they're getting paid now. All right. Well, first of all, they've been getting the cost of attendance check for a few years, but now they've got this NIL stuff. But they're humans as well. I mean, yes, they want to put everything into Auburn football, but human nature says if you're 4-3, 4-4, maybe you're not quite as focused as if you were 7-1. That's just human nature. So there's a lot of things in play here. So every game is so significant. There's no question about it. I mean, Scott Frost, he lost 2 close games, right? Now he's been sitting on the fence for a while here, but he lost. They could have easily beaten Northwestern, correct, in that first game.
Yeah, sure.
And then they just lost to Georgia Southern on a late, pretty lengthy field goal. You win those games, and 3-0 going into Oklahoma week.
Yeah, and they cost themselves. They could have waited 2 weeks and saved themselves $7.5 million, and they were like, nope.
Yeah, they must really not like.
We're going to pay the $7.5 million to just go ahead and do it now.
And they wanted to win that race to Urban.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you're Urban, don't you kind of? I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and knock Nebraska. I actually hear it's an amazing place. But if you're Urban and you want to get back in, don't you wait a little bit? Don't you wait a while to see what else? Because you're saying, well, who's going to get fired? Well, okay, but you can't just look at it that way. Sometimes guys just up and quit. You know how Urban Meyer knows that? Because he was one of those guys, okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes a guy leaves for the NFL. Sometimes a domino effect happens. You know what I mean? And you just don't know.
I will say I think the Nebraska job, and we're getting off track, but the Nebraska job is I think underappreciated from the NIL standpoint. Like it has lost some allure as a program. We get that. But with NIL and the fan support for that place is sold out every Saturday. Doesn't even matter who it is. Doesn't matter the record. Like that's a place where NIL should just go bonkers.
It is definitely an unbelievable fan base. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, you get the right coach in there with that fan base and NIL, and I don't understand why you couldn't kill it. But all right, hey, before we move on to the game this weekend, we talked about the rundown of the recruits. Anybody on? I'm sure if you want to hold this for the war room, don't answer the question. Commits? Any possibility this weekend, or is this just a big weekend to make impressions?
I think there's definitely some possibilities for commitments, and I would say Tyler Scott, and not immediately like I'm leaving the stadium, I'm committed. I'm talking about in the next week or two following the game. Hey, I had a great time. I'm going to set my commitment announcement for September 23rd. I think Keith and I actually talked. Tyler Scott. Janoris Wilson is another to watch, although Chad has said he might take another visit, but it sounds like he's getting ready to do that. Jamar Harkless, he's not visiting, but he could certainly visit. But those two guys right there, Justin, Janoris Wilson, Tyler Scott, I think I would guess that they both commit sometime in the next 2 weeks following this game, unless things go south badly, and I don't expect them to. Keith, you got anybody else?
Oh, gosh, I think those are the main guys. I mean, I guess somebody to watch. Well, yeah, no, I think those are the main ones. I was going to say Colton Hood, but he's a DB committed to Michigan State. However, he just committed to Michigan State, so even if Auburn's going to get him, it probably is going to take a while.
Maybe late, yeah.
Yeah, they got to push all that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think those would be the guys. Maybe there's always a chance there's a young guy, a 2024 guy.
I don't have time for those guys right now. Unless
I
just don't.
Hey, let me tell you something. The statistics show the readers don't have time for those guys either, because those stories get a hell of a lot less page views than stories about the current class. That's always been the case.
Okay, good.
So monster recruiting weekend for a lot of reasons. Let's talk about the game a little bit. It seems to me like both teams are going to be very similar from last year. I mean, there's a few personnel losses, but all in all, it's pretty similar. The hardest thing is, man, I've been asked all week on radio. People are trying to figure out what to expect. I cannot answer what in the world to expect from Auburn's offense. Like I don't. Do I think schematically there will be things differently? Yes, there will be. Whether it's tall sweep, screen game, like there will be things that we see that they haven't really broken out, but executing, it's a whole different thing. And I just don't know what to expect from that group. I don't have a lot of faith right now in not just the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks is all the attention. Like, to me, I think the receivers are a big question mark too in terms of their ability to create separation and be playmakers. They're not doing a whole lot to help the guys out at quarterback to me. Like, that's both those groups need to step up to me. And I think it's going to be completely on the offensive side of the ball. I think the defense will dial the pressure up. They're not going to do what they did last year. They shouldn't anyway. But I don't think they'll do that. The crowd will be great, and it's going to be on the offense to make plays. And I have no clue. They might come out and hit some passes and look great. It might look like San Jose State all over again. I have no clue other than I think the defense will be in there. I think the crowd will be there, and they'll keep them in the ball game. But I don't know what to expect from the offense. Does anybody have any faith that this offense is going to come out and score 24?
Man.
Yeah, I don't. That's why the defense is going to, not to say they can't, but I don't have faith or lack of faith. I'm like in you. I'm in faith purgatory, really. I'm in between. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why the defense is going to have to do what we keep talking about every week and create some short fields, turnovers, a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, something. Sometimes that's what it takes to win. There's no shame in how you win. You're just trying to win. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether the other team outscores you by out yardage you by a couple hundred. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. You're just trying to find the end zone more than them any way you can. But when you look at the offense, I mean, is Auburn better at quarterback than it was when it went into Penn State last year? I don't think so. Are they better at running back? Maybe a little bit better. Maybe a little bit better. Offensive line? I don't think so. Tight end, the same guys. But I wouldn't say they have the highest ceiling. So while it's a solid group at tight end, I don't know that they're a lot better than they were last year. Receiver group doesn't look as good as last year. So, yeah, I mean, and then what are they? What kind of an offense are they? So far, the best plays on the offense have been, quite frankly, plays out of the legs of Joe. God, I keep calling him Joey Gatewood, Robbie Ashford. I do this every time. But from the legs of Robbie Ashford, haven't those essentially been of Auburn's 5 best offensive plays? One was that long pass to Javaris Johnson, right?
From Robbie Ashford.
And then I would say that long run from Damari Alston, who only got one more carry after that. And then you could argue that maybe the next 3 best plays this season were all from the legs of Robbie Ashford.
Sure.
I mean,
Tank had a good run against Mercer coming
out.
up.
Okay. Yeah, and TJ's made a few decent throws, and obviously those 2 big 4th down conversions were huge. Okay, so I'll say out of the top 10 offensive plays, how many came from the legs of Robbie Ashford? Maybe half of them. Well, that's not what the Auburn offense is. It's not a QB running offense. So we don't really know what they're gonna be. We don't really know yet. They don't have an identity yet. Forget about what system you run. What's the identity right now? Well, we think it's going to be a hard-nosed running team and all that, but we don't know yet. We're not there. We don't know what to expect. Look, could Auburn score a bunch of points this week? Sure, of course they could, but it's a leap of faith based on what the empirical evidence is giving us right now.
It really is.
Now, that doesn't mean they can't do it. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, sometimes you score more against Notre Dame than you do against Wofford. That's the way football works. But what is the evidence to suggest? If you say, oh, my gut tells me this, my gut tells me that, well, okay, that could happen, but that means you got lucky in your prediction. You know what I mean? What is the empirical evidence telling us? And right now, it's not telling us a lot. It's not, and it's not showing us a lot of big plays. I mean, I know I'm talking in circles here. I'm just trying to put my arms around their offense right now.
It's hard.
Is that, Justin, do y'all know what the line is on this game? It was minus +1 for Auburn. I don't know if it's changed, Zach. I don't know if you
see. It opened 3 and then it was 1. So look, I'd have to look it up. I mean, I can't imagine it's outside of that. I mean, one way or the other. I can't imagine it's going to pick them, and it's probably not more than 3. So,
well, that and listen, that tells you how big of a home field advantage Jordan Hare is. You know. And there might not be a better one out there, quite frankly. And that's when you and you guys mentioned this earlier, that when you think about whether
what is it?
Zach says Penn State -3.
Oh, well,
so it's still sticking at 3. Okay.
Well, I was gonna
say you're getting a home field advantage of 3, right? That's good. Cole's coming in at the right time. Cole, we're talking about Penn State being a 3-point favorite. I think it started. Justin, you said it started like 3.5, went to 1.
It opened 3, and then it was 1. I think Cole quoted 1 from a service on Sunday, but it sounds right. 3. I mean, that's all because of Auburn's quarterback. It is. People are going.
What's the over under, Zach? Do you know?
I think it's like 47.5, maybe, which I would go under.
Man, the thing we had talked about is like you hope Auburn has kind of been vanilla, right? You hope that's why the offense has not looked as good as you expect. 47.5 from Zach.
But well, can I say one thing, Jeffrey? Even if you're vanilla, though, it's blocking and tackling, and you should still be able to. I don't know. I mean, it seems like you'd still be able to score more than 24 last week.
Well, San Jose State's got a good offense. And Auburn outscored them. That quarterback is much better than anything Auburn has, or at least anything that I've seen Auburn have this season. That quarterback is good. Cole, it came from Hawaii, maybe?
Yeah, he was at Hawaii. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
we got you.
Yeah, he was at Hawaii. Man, he had a very prolific career over there, over 3,000 yards passing, over 1,000 yards rushing there.
Damn.
So coming in, I mean, he was a guy that's played a lot of football and, didn't have a lot of help in that first game from the offensive line and all that. He got sacked 7 times. He was pretty good in the Auburn game.
Does anybody remember how many passing yards he had against Auburn?
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Okay, because this is what we're going to get into, man. I want to get my prize pick in this week. Last week, Prize Picks, our new sponsor for the Modcast, we had Tank Bixby. The more or less was 111.5. And he was vastly under that, right? I think he had around 50 yards rushing. Anyways, anybody not familiar with Prize Picks, man, it's really cool. It's an app, Prize Picks. Go download it off your app store. It's real cool, man. It's let me read this. It's the simplest form of real money, daily fantasy sports, and just pits you against the numbers. So it's not you against your friends or anything like that. They basically give you a number, and you take more or less. And you can do 2, you can do 3, 4, 5, and it's cool. Last week we played Tank Bixby more or less than 111.5. I took the under. This week it's going to concentrate more on the Auburn defense. So it's got the more or less on Sean Clifford. And that's why I was asking about the San Jose State quarterback, because the more or less on Sean Clifford's passing yardage this week against Auburn is 234.5.
San Jose State's quarterback had 275 last week versus Auburn.
So is Sean Clifford going to have more or less than 235? Hey, and if you haven't downloaded Prize Picks, man, it's a fantastic offer right now because they will match up to $100 any money that you deposit into your account. Use the promo code War Eagle. There it is on the screen, all caps, one word, War Eagle. Prize Picks, go play with us. They've got the more or less at Sean Clifford at 234.5. Who is is Nicholas Singleton the Penn State's best running back? So more or less, they've only got him at 48.5.
They're not a phenomenal running team. Yeah.
Okay.
They're 3 guys pretty often. So.
And then I guess Mitchell Tinsley is the best wide receiver.
He's the leading receiver. He's a Western Kentucky transfer that I think, Auburn maybe peaked at when he was in the
name sounds familiar, yeah.
I don't think they went after him hard.
No.
We peeked at him,
Somebody probably asked about him.
Right. Yeah, well, they asked about every receiver.
Right.
I think.
But he's at 63.5, more or less. So go join us, man. Go download Prize Picks. Get your use the promo code War Eagle, all caps, one word, and start playing more or less with us, man. Last week it was Tank Bixby. We're going to play Sean Clifford, 234.5, and I also want to look at this Nicholas Singleton, 48.5 rushing yards, more or less.
I'd go less on Singleton.
Okay.
I don't, man. I almost think that Clifford number is like they picked a good number. I mean, that's a pretty good number. That's hard to say whether it's going to go more or less. If you're 250 plus, that's not great for Auburn. I mean, I think Penn State's more balanced than that. I mean, that's kind of right on probably where they'll be. The thing about last year, though, is Auburn gave up some dumb big plays in the passing game, broken coverages to tight ends that hopefully don't happen again, that accounted for a lot of Clifford's yards. So
yeah, they did.
That's a hard one, though, because if Auburn does a good job against the run, you got to figure Clifford may throw the ball 35 times. And, he threw the ball 32 last year at home. So throws the ball 35 times, he could get 240.
Penn State is currently 19th in the country in passing offense, averaging 323 yards per game.
Damn.
They're a lot lower than that in rushing, obviously. The reason I wouldn't go with Singleton, I would go under for Singleton on those rushing. What was it, 48?
48 and a half.
I'd go under because
less. You go less.
Yeah, less. Because they rotate so much. And I think this is more of a game for the other freshman running back, Katron Allen, the bigger back, the heavier guy. I think if they're going to run the ball, they know they need somebody that can, bust it through the offensive line and get a few yards is what they're thinking. They may have more success than that against Auburn's front, but probably thinking, hey, this is a better front than we've seen so far. We need the bigger guy here. So that's what I'm thinking.
See more of a Sean Jackson type back?
Yeah, well, man, he's like, I don't know, like 6'1", 220, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Freshman out of IMG Academy. He was somebody that Auburn offered last year. I think Auburn offered him.
What was his name?
Katron Allen. Yeah. Originally from Norfolk, Virginia, but he was Norfolk. Yeah.
Norfolk.
Yeah. Right.
I was thinking Noah Kane from IMG, but I think he's a little bit older. Noah Kane, I think, actually ended up at LSU?
Yeah, he is at LSU now. He was
at one time committed to Penn State, I think. Cadillac,
that
was Tim Horton.
No, he was at Penn State. He transferred from Penn State.
Okay. There you go. Noah's daddy was fun to cover. It was more covering his dad than it was Noah.
Yeah,
you can probably know.
Penn State's got a really solid running backs coach, Jawan Sider, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a head coach probably in the next 5 to 7 years. I think he's a guy he's a top-notch recruiter. He's getting guys there every year. He connects great with guys, and he's really seen as a comer in the business. So, we'll see. I'll take the over on Singleton. I'll go ahead. I know they've been rotating backs, but I think I could see him getting over that. All it takes is one. What he's got is he's got a little home run threat to him. So,
yeah,
all he needs is one run of over 20 yards, and he's halfway there.
So Keith's taking more than 48 and a half.
Yeah.
Shit, man, I don't have any reason to think so. I think I'm more confident in the Sean Clifford more than 234.
Oh yeah,
just because you got more over,
less on Singleton.
I got Clifford going over as well on that.
Clifford, you've got more.
Yeah.
Cool.
And somebody put on the board on the corner this morning saying, Jeff Schmedding, please get pressure on the quarterback. And I agree. I'm hoping that's what he does because Clifford is not great under pressure, but if he's got time to throw it, he is very accurate.
You have to, right? I mean, this is one of the things that, like, I was cold before you came on. Like when people have asked about the game, and I feel like it's the one thing. Sorry, I just heard a loud noise in the other room. You never know what that is. I feel like if there's one thing I know about this game, it's going to be that Jeff Schmedding and the Auburn defense are going to dial up pressure and not do what they did last year.
Yeah.
If they come out and that scheme looks anything like it did last year, I'm going to be blown away. If it's soft coverages.
Yeah, but how many points did they give up, though? I mean, it's not like.
But listen. They give up 28, but they give up 28 completions to Sean Clifford, which he had about by far. It was 28 of 32. He's not that kind of quarterback.
I understand. No, I understand that, but also.
And so they made him look like something that he's not. You go look at his stats last year. That was a complete outlier. And so it's not that he can't potentially throw for a lot of yards. It's 28 of 32 was way too easy to do. He's not that type of passer. That's what's frustrating. If Auburn gives up 250 and he's 24 of 44, that's a different game than 28 of 32. And I mean, there are times where they're dropping back. I remember early in that game, there's 3 guys rushing. And Clifford's just doing this. Who do I want to throw to? Who I want to throw to? Dancing around. That cannot happen. And
that was frustrating as hell, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's no way that happens again. Not at home.
And I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. But first of all, I think they scored. Yeah, they scored 28, but weren't they 4-4 in the red zone? And I thought that was the bigger issue, quite frankly.
Yeah, and one was off the Kobe Hudson, dropped the end around, not gave them, but right out of halftime, they tried the trick play. Kobe tried to run it, dropped the ball, they score a touchdown. So They had some good field position.
4-4
Yeah.
in the red zone. But, if you're going to dial it up, you better make sure your corners are at the top of their game, right?
Yeah.
And so far, we haven't seen the corner play that we thought. Now, look, are these guys capable? I mean, Jalen Simpson hasn't been playing great, but we've seen him play great before. So they do seem to be capable. But so far, that they haven't played to the level we maybe thought that they would play at. It's early season. And look, I give them a little bit of slack. I cut them a little slack against San Jose State because that is what San Jose State does. Their passing game is their running game too. That is their whole offense.
Yeah,
they invented the West Coast offense basically at that school. I mean, that's what they do.
They're
that's
a low-level Mississippi State. I mean,
that's what they know what they're doing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so people are like, well, you can't give up all this. Well, I mean, it's a team that knows how to run slants and all those middle and underneath stuff. Cole knows that's hard to defend if they know what they're doing. That's just one move and boom. If the throw's there, you ain't stopping it. So you just try to limit it and keep it in front of you. But so I don't know. But if Auburn can, the key to dialing it up is making sure your back end presence is solid.
Yeah, and by the way, another stat here: both Auburn and Penn State are tied for first in the country in red zone offense. So red zone percentage, how many times you scored, if you didn't score. They both scored every time, but the only difference is Penn State took a field goal once. Auburn has not done so yet. They have scored on 7 rushing touchdowns and 8 and 1 passing touchdown, I think.
So they're 8 of 8 through.
Both are 8 of 8. Yes,
with 8 touchdowns for Auburn. Okay.
Well,
not a bad stat.
State 6 of 6. Excuse me.
Okay.
So when they're getting into the red zone, they're scoring right now. We'll see what happens with that if that changes for either team in this game.
The statistics through 2 games are always,
right.
The sample size is so small. So somebody will say, well, Army's the number 1 rushing team in the country. And it's like, yeah, but they just played Lafayette and Cornell. I mean, it's so, it's a little.
I give Penn State a little bit more credit on theirs because they played who was pretty good. So, that was a decent game for them. And they scored on them when they got the chance. So that they get credit for that. Auburn, Mercer, and San Jose State, it's not as good there. So,
what's next? What do we got?
I was trying to pick out my score.
See, 47.5. That that's hard to. I don't think it's going to be more than that. I mean, I agree. I think this isn't like a 21-17, 24-20, I guess. Well, that'd be 44. You're getting close. But unless there's turnovers and some crazy things, I feel like if Auburn gets to 24, I'd feel pretty good. If they're at 21 or 17, I think that's dicey, obviously. But I feel like if they hit 24, they should be in pretty good shape unless the defense doesn't play up to what I think they're going to play. If they give up 20, if Auburn gives up 24, 27, that would surprise me. That really would.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this. Does the offense need turnovers? I mean, they're -4 in turnover margin through the first 2 games. Auburn they forced no turnovers. Do they need to be plus in this game, or is there a way to be -1 in this game and still win, or is this like, okay, you're at Penn State, like you have to win the turnover battle now against these better teams? I mean, can they win this game being -1 or even -2 again?
You look at it and you go, is there a way that they're not? With the way that Finley and Ashford have thrown, picks, and the way that it seems almost inevitable that it could happen again. You don't look at them and go, well, they're not going to throw a pick in this game. Well, they might, because they've done it twice, and both of them, well, Robbie once, but they didn't look good. So it's possible that happens again. I think it's almost something they're having to deal with at this point. Can they win with it?
Is somebody vacuuming? I'm trying to figure out that. It's not me, just so you know. You can't see me. I'm just here. I'm not vacuuming.
Hey! Nobody around me.
Thank you.
It's my realtor maid.
Well, my freezer's beeping because my 3-year-old left the door open right now. I hear it. So everything's melting at the moment. So everything's going great.
The Modcast.
Okay, Justin, talking about turnovers.
Yeah,
Auburn cannot. The turnovers and the penalties last week,
bad.
Inexcusable. Cannot happen. And Keith and I were talking about. It's like, man, I'd like to. What do you call it, Keith? The hope that Auburn is not as undisciplined as that. The lack of the turnovers on offense, the penalties. Man, I won't be honest with you. I haven't seen anything that makes me believe, and I haven't seen Penn State. Let me throw that out there too. I watched a little bit of their Purdue game, but I haven't sat down and studied the film like Cole has. So I don't know how good Penn State is. I really don't. I know that Auburn hasn't showed me anything that makes me believe that they can handle a top 25 team at home. I don't, man. It's really hard for me to say that Auburn's going to win this football game. Because what is it, Keith? If I say that Auburn is going to win, what did you say that was called?
Well, it's kind of a leap of faith.
Leap of faith. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it doesn't mean it can't happen, but
Absolutely.
where's the evidence taking us now? But you can also throw in there is evidence that has nothing to do with these two teams, how they've played so far this year, but the evidence we have of Jordan Hare being such a tough environment. Factoring that in is fine. That's absolutely. I mean, obviously you have to factor that in. That's quantifiable. There's no doubt. I mean, look what Auburn's done at home in big games, even when they haven't won. I mean, first of all, they should have probably beat Alabama last year, right? And how many of us going into that game thought that team could beat Alabama?
No, nobody thought it was going to go that way. No,
there was nothing that pointed to that game being what it was.
No.
So there's always that, but it is a little bit of a leap of faith. I mean, but again, we're 2 games into the season. We don't have a big sample size. What we have isn't that impressive, quite frankly. Penn State, I only saw the first game, and they looked okay against Purdue. I mean, there were things that they give up a lot of yards. There's no doubt about that. But one thing we know about Purdue is they do have pretty good offense, a really good offense, and dating back the last few years. So, so when you look at it that way, you say, well, they have that one big win, and it was on the road. And granted, playing in West Lafayette is not anywhere near like playing in Auburn, but it's still a road game, your first game of the year. You don't know what you have. You win it, and you won in a tough environment. So they've obviously had a little bit more of a warm-up than Auburn has. But it's still, are y'all laughing at Justin?
Yeah.
It's still she probably knows more than we do. Does she have any takes on this game? She probably could predict the score better than us. But yeah, I mean,
she knows Aubie.
Well, you're taking everything, you're taking all this into consideration. You're saying, can Auburn win? Absolutely. I don't think any of us would disagree with that. But then you say, why would Auburn win? And it gets a little harder when you do it that way.
The only way you can explain why Auburn would win is that leap of faith. It's because I think they're better than they were last week. I think they're a better football team. I think they're not going to make those same mistakes this week. I think the coaches are going to have a great game plan for this Penn State. They've had it circled on the wagon. The fans are worth a touchdown.
Yeah.
There are many reasons I could take that leap of faith and say Auburn's going to win. Now, you want me to sit back and look at the data that I've seen? I'll be the first one. I got Penn State. I'm going to take Auburn with the points, but I'm going to take Penn State outright. 24-23. The under, I get the under at 47, and I take Auburn in the points.
Well, hey, Jeffrey, are you saying that is Penn State going to win with a late field goal, or is Auburn going to miss something, or is Auburn going to not go for 2 in the third quarter and lose by 1?
It's going to come down to the last possession of the game.
Oh, wow.
Penn State kicks a field goal to win it.
Oof.
Okay.
Auburn's leading the entire game. The crowd's pumped. Probably a late turnover or something. I don't know. But Penn State drives, kicks a game-winning field goal. Just stick a knife in the beach ball.
Bro, I don't even want to imagine this. I'm trying to just take this one week at a time. If that happens, we're gonna have to hire a team of moderators.
So, and if he misses, I got Auburn 23-21.
Backup pick. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Jeffrey, I'm kind of on board with you with it coming down to, the last possession or one of the last possessions. I'm going to be that guy this week and take a leap of faith, as Keith is saying. I'm going to say Auburn 28-24. Said that on a radio show yesterday. I'm going to stick with it. The reason everybody keeps asking, I mean, we've had a million questions. Are they holding some offense back? Are they doing that? I don't have an answer for you. What we've seen could be Auburn's offense. That could be it.
No.
I think they're going to open it up more. I think they have more. I think I don't fully trust TJ Finley, Robbie Ashford throwing the football yet, but I think they run the ball pretty well. And another game under the offensive line's belt against a front at Penn State that I don't think is, fantastic. I think they're slightly above average. And that's just from watching the film on them, watching the two games they played. So I'm going to take Auburn 28-24. I think they get it done running the football.
Hey, let me throw this in there real quick. I do think we're going to see a lot of option from Auburn. And so, Cole, if you're telling me that Penn State's front average.
Yeah, and they're not bad. They're not bad.
But I think we're going to see a lot of option from Auburn.
I think they were better last year up front.
I think we're going to see a lot more of Ashford and Tank. A lot of option from Auburn.
Could be.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. It feels like the line play is sort of, Penn State's D-line isn't their strength, but then Auburn's offensive line certainly isn't its strength.
Right.
And that feels like a little bit of a wash. Special teams, I love Anders. I don't know if he's 100 all the way back, though, right? That long field goal last week barely cleared, and he usually clears those by 15 yards.
Right.
So does that become a factor? I don't know. I do feel like this is one of those games where special teams are going to rear its head. I like was it Keontae Scott that had that lengthy return last week?
Yeah.
I think that could be significant. Even in a game like this, even a 20 or 30-yard play is big. I think that Auburn's capable. They haven't really forced any turnovers, but the crowd will be amped. You get one turnover deep in the other team's territory and turn that into 7, and that flips things around. That said, I think Penn State's sort of been there and done that. They haven't played in an environment like this, but they've played in some tough environments. They got a veteran team. Again, now back in Auburn's favor, I'm going to go back and forth here. I mean, you remember Manny Diaz as the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Not loving that for Penn State, quite frankly. I hate to pick on the guy, but when you just look at everything, I just don't know if Auburn, they're going to have to force a lot of turnovers. I think 2 or 3 turnovers. I know it's not a lot, but 2 or 3, flip the field and then take advantage of them. We haven't seen them create many turnovers this year at all, excuse me. And we haven't seen too many big plays on offense. So I'd love to pick Auburn, but I'm going to go Penn State 23-17. I think Auburn can win. To do that, they're going to have to shorten the field and win special teams, because I just don't see them putting up 400 yards of offense. Maybe I'll be dead wrong. I hope so for Auburn fans.
Well, sadly, before the season, I went on a show and they made me do 3 guarantees. And one of them was that Auburn would beat Penn State by double digits. I thought that Auburn would have these first 2 games and would roll and would bring a lot of momentum into this game. They're 2-0, but they're not bringing quite the momentum in coming off San Jose State that I thought they would. I thought they'd have the offseason and the optimism, and they'd come in here in the crowd, and I figured they'd put together a game plan and that they could go out there and beat Penn State by 10. Wouldn't necessarily mean they're going to win 9. I just thought this game set up nicely. I still think it sets up somewhat well, but the struggles last week have given me a lot of hesitation. But I can't back off my prediction now, not until it doesn't happen. So I'll say Auburn wins 24-14. They hold Penn State in check. They force a turnover or 2. The crowd's amazing. Auburn figures ways out to score, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, and pulls this thing out 24-14, and at least gets the train back on the track for another week until the next time we have to deal with some drama.
I'll tell you what, Justin, if they win 24-14, I'm going to feel a hell of a lot different about this team and this program 7 days from now than I do
would
right
too, yeah. I just can't back off of it now. I already made the prediction, so I gotta stick with it.
Well,
So,
that
yeah,
would be something. That would be something this to be.
well, it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. I'm really more excited about that. Really last year, Alabama's awesome, but other than an Iron Bowl, Ole Miss was really cool atmosphere last year. But that kind of that 2:30 CBS feel. It's been a minute. And I think it's going to be a really, really awesome Penn State coming to town. I mean, first ranked Big Ten team to ever play in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Like, that's a big deal. It's cool.
And the other thing, the last couple Georgia games weren't as – Georgia got off to those big leads in both games, right? They just weren't –
Yeah.
The atmosphere wasn't what we've come to expect for that one. So, yeah, you're right, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you off.
And you go back to – and, really USC in 2003 is the last time – I mean, gosh, I don't know that I've been attending games at Auburn. That's the only other one of a program of this caliber coming into Auburn. I mean, you've had Georgia Tech, Kansas State, West Virginia, but that's not USC, Penn State type caliber. Yeah. So it's a cool, it's a historical game. It's a cool helmet game. I think Auburn's going to do a fantastic job with the orange out, with the marketing and like the lighting. I just think they'll probably do a lot of cool things around that. And it's just going to be a super cool atmosphere, assuming Auburn will stay in this ball game and not screw it up early. They get this thing into the third quarter and it's a tie game. It's going to be an awesome finish.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
And I can confirm that recruits are absolutely fired up to be there. 100% with all the guys I've talked to in the last couple of days. So you got that going as well, and it'll be loaded on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those games, man. I remember those games you look down, it's just going to be jam-packed.
Yeah, just people,
kids and parents. And that's how you knew it was a big game, man. Growing up, I used to look down on the sidelines, and the amount of people on the sidelines, that's all you really needed to see. And this is going to be one of those games where there's so many people that tells you the caliber of the game it is. And Auburn's not ranked, but for where Auburn is, it's a big game. It's a big game. So
I love going to those big games and seeing Bo there, seeing Cam Newton there, seeing Bruce Pearl with his shirt off there. You know what I mean? It is a fun play. Tim Cook, Ernie Els. I mean, the amount of people you'll see at these games, it's just. And by the way, guys, we're going to see some cool Penn State people there too. We're going to probably see a Franco Harris there and people like that. They got some legends too, by the way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's fun. This is something something we haven't talked about. This is something Penn State fans have been looking forward to, and the Penn State program. Yeah, Auburn is a special place, and it means something to them to be able to come down and soak all that in too. It's not just for us and the Auburn fans and the Auburn players. It's for that program too. And they've been everywhere. But they haven't been to Auburn. And it's going to be something really special for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing their turnout.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, me too. I don't know how many fans they're going to bring, but I am curious if they bring 10, they bring 12. I don't know exactly how many they're supposed to bring, but I am curious.
Well, I talked to somebody the other day, and they said they had a chance to get a late flight down. They had an ability to go to the game, Penn State person. And is it worth going to? And they said they didn't go when Penn State played, I guess, at Bama years ago, and they always regretted it, right? And is it worth going to? And they were really contemplating this, and they want to be there, and just want to make sure. These things cost money; it's not cheap. But it's.
They think they're going to win, though, too. I mean that. They're looking at this not just as a great trip, but hey, we're the better team. To me, it's more reason for them to go. I think you're going to have an unbelievable turnout from Penn State fans because they think they're going to come down here and win the game.
Yeah, they probably do. So they're going to show up, I think. What was the Auburn turnout like last year in the Penn State game? I can't remember.
Was it really good? I mean, you could see the orange in the upper deck and all the sections. I mean, Auburn probably brought 10. Because it was one of those games that, it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime type of deal, and I would expect Penn State to do the same depending on whatever the allotment was. I mean, I'm sure Penn State will bring that. I mean,
these games are so cool. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go to Cal when Auburn plays out there. That's a historic.
That's going to be a culture shock. I can't wait for 10,000 Auburn fans to roll into Berkeley.
Well, first of all, I don't think, I mean, having been out there so many times, I think if you just, I don't know, I think a lot of that's overblown, but I had a friend at Berkeley call Auburn fans tree huggers. Well,
That makes no sense.
well, at Toomer's Corner, the Toomer's trees, you know what I mean? But it was funny.
They
But
can roll it. I mean, that's not.
no, but the point being, that's a historic stadium up on the hill in Berkeley. You can see San Francisco. And then a couple years after that, guys, we're going to be at the Rose Bowl. We'll all be a little older. Jeff and I will be pushed in wheelchairs, but it'll be, I mean, the Rose Bowl, guys. Remember the last time we were there? Justin, you sat right next to me.
It was incredible. Yeah.
I love these experiences. And now you're throwing in Oklahoma, obviously, and Texas are going to be in the conference, but it's just so cool. I wish I could have gone to Penn State. I wish I could have made that trip.
Yeah, me too. I've never been up that way. I would have loved to have gone to that one. It's funny, Justin, you brought up the Auburn USC game from 2003. Everybody knows I'm the young guy, so that was my first time going to an Auburn game, and I'll never forget it. It was really
That's your first Auburn game?
Sure was.
Jeez, what a game.
It was rough, man. Very rough. I remember that.
Man, I remember everything about that game. I remember they came out there and they were going to try to honor Jim Fife by having the crowd yell touchdown Auburn. And what does Auburn do? They don't score in the first two games. They don't even score. But yeah, they got shut out at home in the first game, and that was.
Well, hey, before we go, if there was one place that you guys could go to a game to see Auburn play, and I know Alan Green told me a few months ago that he had tried so hard to get Notre Dame on the schedule, but he couldn't get them to bite. But if there was one stadium you guys could go to go to a game, what would it be?
It'd be there. Like I've always thought Notre Dame or Michigan, you know, something like that. Notre Dame probably is just, they're independent. That's just something that would be so extremely rare. I'm kind of jealous that Georgia got to do that. That was incredible when they did. So I'd go Notre Dame or Michigan probably.
I'd go Michigan. That's who I was thinking. The big house. Definitely.
I guess it'd have to be Notre Dame for me. What about you, Jeff?
Appalachian State, baby.
Although, have you seen the pictures of their stadium? Like, it looks unbelievable. Like
it is. Listen, I just spent my last Christmas with my mother. We went to Boone and we stayed there and we walked through the town and walked into the stadium, and I hadn't been there since I was a kid. And it is, the stadium sat about 100 people when I was born. And now it's a real stadium right up on the hill there. Beautiful town. And it is a cool town, man. It's just got one road basically, and everything's on that road. So you just park and you walk to 100 shops and restaurants. It's cool. Really cool.
That's awesome.
Well, I'll throw out one more. Virginia Tech. I think their atmosphere is awesome. I'd like to go to a game there. The Blacksburg, I think is where it's at.
I went to an FSU game there, and Cole, I want to see you do the hokey pokey after the third quarter. Okay.
I totally would.
They do that? They do it after
Oh, yeah.
Who does?
That takes that sort of doesn't that like offset Inner Sandman? Like if you do that, and
it's kind of a letdown, right?
You can't brag about Inner Sandman anymore.
Wisconsin would be somewhere I'd like.
Oh yeah,
another one, yeah, because they do the fourth quarter jump around. That'd be cool.
Anywhere but Florida.
What about Florida State? I've never been to there. I mean, I've never really. That would be a cool one, right?
Well, you got to go there for a big game. If they're playing Wake Forest, it's empty.
Yeah, right.
But if they're playing on Auburn, yeah, hell yeah. FSU's got that's a fun town now, fun place.
Yeah.
No, Jeff's got the.
I can't deal with the tomahawk chop. I just cannot deal with it. I can't even go to a Braves game.
And
I can't deal with it all game long. I don't know.
Tennessee's a fun one. You know, there's a lot of great. I mean, obviously that's an SEC school, but there's so many great ones. There really are.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be a traditional place. Texas, you know, it'd have to be a place that, not just the program but the stadium too. I mean, that's the Rose Bowl was unbelievable. I mean, seeing Auburn in the Rose Bowl was insane. I mean, that was as cool as it gets.
You could say in Autzen Stadium, Oregon, is one too.
Well, you know, yeah, I'd throw in Washington, right on the water in Seattle. Yeah. That's an amazing place. You know, there's a lot of great ones. I mean, I always thought it'd be great if Army could get in a big school every year up to Michie Stadium, right on the Hudson River. They say there's no setting like that. Have you guys seen BYU's? I mean, that's incredible. You know what I mean? There's just so many. That's the beauty of college football. It really is.
All right, well, let's get out of here. I know everybody's got a lot to do. Make sure you go to Auburn Live and subscribe. 7-day free trial. Ton of recruiting information on Adam Hopkins up on the site now. Penn State obviously will be a busy Saturday and Sunday with Penn State game coverage and recruiting coverage the next day on a lot of big name kids coming. So pretty awesome time if you're going to hop on for 7 days to hop on now. You'll learn a lot. And I think get a lot of important information. We didn't even talk about Rich McGlynn taking over the interim AD at Auburn.
Plenty of time for that.
Yeah, plenty of time to talk about that, but that's good to get him on board. So, all right. I think that's good. We'll see everybody this weekend. Hope everybody makes it down to Auburn. Be safe. Have a good time. We'll see you over on the corner at auburnlive.com. Until next time. Bye.